Namo Namaha Bhavtam Sarvesham Hardam Swagatam. Welcome back to my channel Sanskrit Sopanam. I hope you are doing great. I am also good. And continuing in our series Learning Sanskrit through Gita, today we are decoding the 6th shloka from the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And this particular shloka is very interesting because a lot of things is happening in this shloka. So if you will check the PDF file that I'll attach with the video, you can download the PDF file from the link in the description box. If you'll go through that PDF file, you will see how many sandhi rules are happening in this shloka. And there is no new sandhi as such. All the sandhis that are happening in this shloka, we have already covered them so many times before also in the previous shlokas. But it's just the count. A lot of sandhis are happening, being applied in this particular shloka. Also, grammar wise, we have an introduction of a new suffix, that is san pratyay. So this suffix we are going to see for the very first time in the Gita series. So in all, a pretty interesting shloka. Grammar wise also, vocabulary wise also, and structure wise also, pretty interesting shloka. So without wasting any more time, let's quickly dive in today's video. So this is the shloka for today. Let me go through the shloka once. Na chaitad vidmaha kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu yaneva hatva na jijivishamaha tevasthitaha pramukhe dhartarashtraha. So this is the shloka, and as you see here, jijivishamaha tevasthitaha. So I pronounced it like this. Why? Because this, even though this is written in this another line, but this is like jijivishamaha, and then you have a te. So that is why you are getting this. Due to sakar sandhi, you are getting a sa. But while chanting it, so I pronounced it like jijivishamaha tevasthitaha. So that is what. But anyways, if you'll see the sandhi vichhed portion of it, so right from looking at the sandhi vichhed version, you can see how many sandhis are actually happening in this shloka. So you see cha etat. So there is a vriddhi sandhi that is happening here. Then immediately you have a jashtu sandhi that is happening here. Etad vidmaha. Then you also have anunasika sandhi that is happening here. Katarannaha. Then immediately afterwards you have another sandhi that is happening here. That is a ukara sandhi, a type of ukara sandhi. Then again you have a jashtu sandhi. And again you have a ukara sandhi. And then when we come to this third line, you see, as I mentioned before, this is a sakara sandhi that is happening between these two words. Then again you have another purva rupa sandhi that is happening between these two words. So as you can already see, a lot of sandhi is happening in between all the different words. And again, all the detail of all the sandhi rules is available in the PDF file. Please download that PDF file from the link in the description box and go through it. At least the sandhi section of this particular shloka. Because all these sandhis we have covered so many times before, and you should be able to understand all the sandhis that are happening in between these words, so that you can yourself do the sandhi vichhed version of this entire shloka. But now let us start decoding the shloka, and we are going to start with this second line here. So we'll start with this second line here first. Now before starting to decode the shloka, I need you to remember the context of the previous shloka. So in previous shloka, Arjuna kind of paints two different scenarios for Shri Krishna. In one scenario, he says ahatva, that having not killed. Basically, imagining a situation in which he doesn't kill or he doesn't fight the war with Kaurava people. But if he'll not fight the war, so obviously the empire is going to stay with the Kaurava people. Pandava people, they might have to live their entire life, live their rest of the lives on charity. But even then Arjuna is fine with it, and he justifies this by saying bhoktum bhaikshyamapi shreyaha, that even living a life on charity will be auspicious, will be better, given that we don't fight the war, given that we don't kill our own relatives, our own teachers. So that was the first situation. In the second situation, the second scenario he paints for Shri Krishna is hatva, that having killed, that say I do fight the war and I do win. The Pandavas do win everything. The Pandavas, they get everything they wanted. The empire, the fame, the wealth, power, we achieve everything. But then Bhunjiya, we would be enjoying these pleasures, these bhogan, that will be Rudhir Pradigdhan, that will be blood stained. So with this, basically Arjuna has painted two different scenarios, two different choices for himself. And we already know by the mental state of Arjuna that to which choice he is inclining. That whether to fight the war, whether to kill the relatives, or to not fight the war in which you don't need to kill the relatives. So these are the two choices that he has orchestrated, Arjuna has orchestrated in his mind. And in this particular shloka, Arjuna is just elaborating on those two choices. So that is what we are going to see. That is why I just gave a quick refresher on the context of the previous shloka. Anyways, this is the shloka. We are going to start with the second line. And from the second line, we get this Jiji Vishamaha. This is our Dhatu Roop. This is the Kriya. jijivishamaha. And this jijivishamaha, this complex looking dhatu roop, this means we wish to live. Okay, we desire to live, we wish to live. In that sense, since this Kriya Pad is preceded by a na, so obviously the meaning is negated. So the meaning becomes na jijivishamaha. We don't wish to live, we don't desire to live. Okay, and this a bit complex looking dhatu roop has come from the dhatu, so jeev dhatu, that means to live. Okay, and this particular dhatu in first person, that is Uttama Purush, plural, that is Bahuvachana, and present, that is Lat Lakar in Sanskrit. So this jeev dhatu in first person plural present tense changes into jivamaha. Okay, vayam jivamaha, we live. Because we have seen this kind of form, right? Pathami, pathavaha, pathamaha. So that is what is happening. Uttama Purush Bahuvachan, Jeev changes into Jivamaha. And since Arjuna is using this particular dhatu, so from the perspective of Arjuna, we, that means all the Pandava people basically. But in our shloka here, we are not using this form Jivamaha. We are rather using this complex looking form Jijivishamaha. And to understand this, we need to understand a new pratyay, a new suffix, that is san suffix. And see, by this point, we have seen these many suffixes like twa suffix, lyap suffix, tumun suffix, ta suffix, shatra suffix. So all these suffixes, and maybe I'm missing out on a few, but the point I'm trying to make here is all the suffixes that we have seen before, they followed a general pattern where they attach themselves with a root. Right? They attach themselves with the dhatu, and the result of this is either we get a verb-based adjective, as in the cases of these pratyaya we have seen, ta pratyaya and shatra pratyaya. So you have a pat dhatu, and when I modify this pat dhatu using ta pratyaya, so what I get is a pathita. What I get is this pratipadika. This pratipadika acts like a verb-based adjective, right? And verb-based because it is derived from a verb root. So we get this, and in some cases we also get an indeclinable. So in the cases of these three pratyaya, these three suffixes, we get an indeclinable or an avyay. Because if we modified the same dhatu, pat dhatu, with this, suppose you say tumun suffix, so what we get is pathitum, right? Pathitum means to study, in order to show that to study. But this pathitum acts like an indeclinable avyay. Because this pathitum we can use with anyone. We can use with a single karta, ek vachana, bahuvachan, madhyam purush, pratham purush. It doesn't matter. This pathitum acts like an indeclinable. And same thing goes for this twa and lap pratyaya also. That when these three suffixes, they attach with a verb root, they create an indeclinable with certain meaning. And all the rest of the pratyaya, these two and maybe some more that I'm missing out here, when we attach them with a verb root, they create a verb-based adjective. But then we have also seen this pratyaya, that is nich pratyaya, and we have seen its use in previous videos. This pratyaya is a bit different, this suffix is a bit different than what we just saw, in the matter that this pratyaya, when we add this with any dhatu, with any verb root, so it modifies the dhatu itself. So think like when we add this pratyaya with a dhatu, with a root, so we get a modified root, that I am denoting this with an asterisk. So we get a modified root. So of course, from this modified root, we are going to get different modified verb forms. So suppose I use this dhatu pat dhatu, that means to study, and if I modify this dhatu using this nich pratyaya, so this modified dhatu, that is, I'm denoting this with an asterisk, this modified dhatu will convey the sense to make someone study. Okay, so that is the use of this nich pratyaya. So for example, from this pat dhatu, we get this form pathati, right? So this is a prathama purush, this is a third person singular lat lakar form, right? Pathati. So you can use it with any third person. So you can use it, you can say that balakaha pathati, that the boy studies. You can say balika pathati, a girl studies. Adhyapakaha patati, teacher studies. Shishyaha patati, student studies. So in any third form, you can use this pathati form. So from this pat dhatu, you get this patati form, that means someone studies. But when you are going to modify this dhatu using nich pratyay, so of course the form also will be a bit different. So here we get, instead of patati, we get pathayati. And this pathayati means some third person, he makes someone study, or essentially he teaches. So if I say adhyapakaha pathayati, so I am saying the teacher teaches, because to make someone study is essentially to teach. So in that sense now. Okay, similarly with any other form also. Aham pathami, I study, but here you are going to get aham pathayami, that I teach in that sense. Okay, so I hope you can see the difference of this nich pratyay with the pratyas that we saw before, that they, when they attached with a dhatu, they created another pratipadika, and this pratipadika act like a verb based adjective or indeclinable avyay. But with this kind of pratyay, the dhatu itself get modified, so it becomes a different dhatu altogether. That is why we get different verb forms. And same is the case with this san pratyay that we are introducing ourselves for the first time. That if I use this san pratyay to modify any dhatu, suppose pat dhatu, that means to study in the general sense, if I modify this dhatu using san pratyay, so the dhatu itself get modified in the sense of to desire to study, or to wish to study, in that sense. Okay, so categorically you can see that this san pratyay, this is similar to this nich pratyay that we saw, that instead of creating a new pratipadika or a new indeclinable from the dhatu, these two suffixes nich and san, they rather modify the dhatu itself. And obviously from this modified dhatu, now you are going to get all the modified verb forms also with an additional meaning, whatever additional meaning they impart. Nich pratyay, to make someone do that action, and san pratyay, to desire to, in order to show that. So I just wanted to show this contrast between all the types of suffixes that we have covered so far very briefly. Now the use of this san pratyay, so quickly we'll see with this example and then we'll switch back to our shloka in hand. So in the original form patha, suppose you have this statement Shishyah pathati. So we know the simple meaning is the student studies. But now if I use the same form, this form is pathati, this form is, as we have seen before, prathama purush, ekvachan and lat lakar, the third person singular and the present tense. So in that you get this pathati form. Suppose I'm going to use the same form, but the root is modified using san pratyay now. So the form also will be modified. The form becomes pi patishati. So with this modified form, Shishyah pi patishati, the meaning now becomes the student desires to study. Okay, so that is the use of this pratyay. See, this entire statement you can write using the original dhatu only. So, Shishyah patitum ichhati, simple as that. That the student desires, Shishyah ichhati, using the normal form of ish dhatu, that means to desire. Shishyah ichhati, the student desires. The student desires to do what? So, to study, patitum. So here we are taking help of that tumun pratyay that we saw before. That whenever we want to show this, to do some action, we use this tumun pratyay. So pat plus tumun changes into patitum. Shishyah patitum ichhati, the student desires to study. So we can create this statement also. The use of this form and this pratyay is just another provision that is provided in Sanskrit language, that you can take this path also. But we need to be aware of this pratyay. Why? Because in text, sometimes it is used. It is not very commonly used. But sometimes you are going to get the use of this modified verb form also, modified using this pratyay. So we just need to be aware of the use of this. Okay, means the same thing. Shishyah pi patishati, the student desires to study. You can use the original form also, Shishyah patitum ichhati. But anyways, let us see this example also using the same verb root that is used in our actual shloka in hand. So jeev, that is to live. And now suppose I am making this statement vayam jivamaha. So since vayam, I am using this with a vayam, that is we. So this jivamaha is of course which form? So jivamaha, it is a first person, that is uttama purush, because vayam. Uttama purush plural, that is bahuvachan, and present tense, that is simple lat lakar. So jeev dhatu in these three conditions changes into jivamaha. The meaning becomes vayam jivamaha, we live. Okay, simple as that. But now suppose if I modified this dhatu using this san pratyay. So now this first person plural present tense form will also be modified because the entire dhatu itself is modified. So instead of jivamaha, we will get a verb form that is jijivishamaha. Okay, vayam jijivishamaha. And because this san pratyay adds this additional meaning of desire to, so the meaning will become we desire to live. That instead of simple we live, vayam jijivishamaha, we desire to live. Okay, that is the use of this san pratyay. Again, we desire to live. You can use the simple vayam ichhamaha. We desire to do what? Desire to live. Jeevitum, jeev dhatu modified using tumun pratyay, jeevitum. So vayam jeevitum ichhamaha, we desire to live, means essentially the same thing, but we are using the san pratyay. So I hope the entire structure and the entire use of san pratyay is somewhat clear to you. And see, if you are bothered about how exactly we are getting this form, this complex form jijivishamaha, how we are getting this, So see, a lot of sutras, a lot of sub rules and sutras exist that guide that how from this particular verb root, when you attach a particular suffix, you get this particular form. And all these sub rules are present in Ashtadhyayi. So you can go through them, but again, we don't need to bother ourselves with the back end working of this Ashtadhyayi grammar. For us, this much grammar is enough. That what is the use of this pratyay, and this is how this works. Essentially, this much is enough for us. So jiji vishamaha, we wish to live. Since na jiji vishamaha, so we don't wish to live. Okay, that is what is happening here. So this is what we are starting with. Arjuna is saying this. So he is referring to all the Pandavas. We. So all the Pandavas in that sense. Now let's continue. And I have a question now, that kim kritva. That Arjuna is saying that we don't desire to live. But after doing what? Having done what? He don't wish to live. He don't desire to live. So that is hatva. And this hatva, this means after killing. And with this, you will immediately recognize the reference to his previous shloka. In previous shloka, he mentioned those two conditions, no? That having not killed or having killed. So he's referring to that second scenario, that if he chooses to fight the war, if he chooses to kill. So he's obviously elaborating on that second scenario, that hatva, after killing them, after killing my teachers, after killing our own blood relatives, we Pandavas, we don't desire to live, we don't wish to live. That is what Arjuna is saying. And hatva as a word, han plus twa suffix. So this same word we have used in previous shloka. No need to expand on that. I'm sure everyone here is aware of this particular word. So moving forward, I asked this question, that who all, that having killed, after killing who all, he's talking about this. So Arjuna is using this pronoun here, yan hatva. And this pronoun, this is of course coming from the Pratipadika. Yad pronoun, we have seen this. Yad pronoun is one who, in that sense, no? In Hindi we say jo. So in that sense, one who. And this yan is of course the second word case, the Dutiya Vibhakti, second case, plural. Why? Because again, hatva, after killing whom. So this is like a object of this particular kriya, particular action. So object, so of course, second Vibhakti, Dutiya Vibhakti, plural, because by whom he is referring to all the Kauravas, at least all the Kauravas that are related to him, his teachers, his blood relatives and all. So Arjuna is obviously making some statement that after killing whom, we don't wish to live. And this whom he is going to elaborate further in the shloka, Dhartarashtra. So what we are going to see next. Then this entire statement, this entire line will make proper sense. So let us move forward. So kaha, that who are they? This yan, after killing whom, but about whom he is talking about. Kaha, who are they? So Dhartarashtraha. And again, Dhartarashtraha. All these words we have, I don't know, but multiple occasions we have repeated these words. That this Dhartarashtraha, this is coming from the Pratipadika Dhritarashtra. And in order to show the descendants of this Dhritarashtra, we use this word Dhartarashtra. So again, there's some other suffix that is making this possible. There's some other suffix that is being attached with this Pratipadika that is giving the meaning of the descendants of this Pratipadika. The descendants of this Dhritarashtra, they are called Dhartarashtra. And Dhartarashtraha, so of course the plural form, Balak, Balakaha, because he's talking about all the Kaurava people. And eva, this of course, this is an indeclinable, that means indeed. No, indeed, to show some impact, to show some weightage. So eva, indeed, te, this is again a pronoun to imply those Kauravas. So of course, this te is coming from the pronoun tad. So that, those, theirs, in all those sense, we use this pronoun tad. And this pronoun also is of course going to take the same form as its principal noun. So Dhartarashtraha, since this is in Prathama Vibhakti, first word case plural. So this also, tad, is going to change into Prathama Vibhakti plural. So tad, the form goes like saha tau te, plural is te. So that is what is this. Those Kauravas, te Dhartarashtraha. And now if you are going to read this entire sentence, yan hatva, that after killing whom, na jiji vishamaha, after killing whom we don't desire to live, te eva Dhartarashtraha, those very Kauravas. And some information Arjuna is going to give about these very Kauravas. So to inquire about these Dhartarashtra, those very Kauravas, what about them? To inquire about this point, I am saying this, te katham bhutaha, they are what? The response we get from the shloka is te avasthitaha, that avasthit, they are firmly established. Okay, we have seen this Pratipadika, we have seen the use of this Pratipadika before also. So avasthita, something that is firmly established in some place. So after reading this, immediately a question will pop up that they are firmly established where? Kutra. So this very question, The response we get from the shloka is pramukhe. Pramukhe avastitaha. And this pramukhe, this is coming from the pratipadika pramukha. Okay, and this pramukha have used in Hindi also. Pramukha means the important, extremely important in that sense. But with the use of this pratipadika here in our context, this pramukha, this means the importance of that position. So basically at the forefront, in that sense, at the forefront. Because you can decipher this pratipadika into this also, mukha. Mukha means mouth. And if you are talking about the army, so the mouth of the army, that means the very front position of the army. So this pratipadika is to be understood in that sense, that pramukha, that in the front position of the army and the very important position of the army. So essentially it means at the forefront of army. So pramukhe. So of course they have used the seventh case of this pratipadika. Why seventh case? Because again, in all these provisions we use the seventh case. So seventh case pramukha changes into pramukhe. Okay, so that is it. Of army, this as itself, there is no Sanskrit word that is given in the shloka. This is just and the complete meaning. So it is an implied sense here, that at the forefront of army, in that sense. And now the entire sentence will make sense, that what Arjuna is trying to say is yan hatva na jiji vishamaha, that after killing all whom we ourselves would not desire to live, those very Kauravas, te eva dhartarashtraha pramukhe avastita, they are firmly established, they are standing at the very front of the army. So all those with whom I don't even want to fight the war, they are at the very front of the opponent army, they are leading the army. So I hope this much is clear now. And now we are going to decode this first line. So it is starting the verb, the kriya that we find here is vidmaha. Okay, nacha etat vidmaha, this word. And vidmaha, this means we know. So this dhatu roop vidmaha, this is coming from the dhatu vid. Vid dhatu means again to know. The form here is uttama purush, first person, because Arjuna is talking about himself and including all the Pandavas. So first person uttama purush, plural bahuvachan, and present tense, that is lat lakar in Sanskrit. So in these three conditions, with this dhatu changes into vidmaha. Okay, this essentially is the with a ma. Okay, this is this. And the way of writing it like this is, you make a da and then from this line itself you create this ma. Okay, so this portion is that ma and this is the half da. That is what you are seeing here. Okay, so don't get confused. It is and we vidmaha. So vidmaha, this is what it is. Okay, vidmaha, we know. Again, there is a na that is preceding it. So the meaning is we don't know. Na vidmaha, we don't know. So this is what Arjuna is saying now. If you'll move forward, so obvious question will be Kim. That what is it that you don't know? Kim, so he is just saying etat na vidmaha, that this we don't know. So again, this pronoun will be elaborated further in the sentence. This simply is coming from this pronoun, this pratipadika, no, etada. So etada, when you are pointing towards things that are close by. So this, these, in this, in all these conditions, you use this pronoun etad. And this etad form is just the, again, second case, and that is Dutiya Vibhakti, singular, and neuter gender. Okay, so etat na vidmaha, this we don't know. So he's obviously going to say something and then pointing towards to this thing, whatever he's going to say, whatever we are going to decode further in the shloka, pointing towards it, he's saying this we don't know. So now let us see what is this. So I'm raising this question, punaschikim, that again, what are you talking about? And now we get this combination of words, katrat gariyaha. And katrat gariyaha, this translates as which of the two is better. So now see, he has given a statement that which of the two is better. This we don't know. This is what Arjuna is saying. Now this gariyaha. So this gariyaha is coming from the pratipadik gariyas. And this gariyas, this is a neuter gender sakarant pratipadik. Sakarant ending with a sa, neuter gender pratipadika. And the meaning is better. And a very similar kind of word for better we have seen and we have used before also, that is shreyas. Okay, we have seen this word also. In fact, in the very previous shloka, we have used this shreyas, this pratipadika, for the sense of this only, better. No, that when Arjuna said, bhaikshyam api bhoktum shreya, that even relishing, even consuming the bhiksha is better. So there he has used this pratipadika shreyas, but here he is using another synonym, that is gariyas. Both of these pratipadika are neuter gender sakarant pratipadika. Okay, and that is why shreyas, this also changed into shreyah, And this gariyas, this also changes into gariyah in first case. In first case, singular. Okay, that same form. So gariyah, that means better. And now see this word katarat. So again, this is a very new word. The pratipadika here is katara. And this katara, this pratipadika, it acts like an adjective slash pronoun with the meaning which of the two. So whenever there are two situations, there are two things, there are two situations, and when we want to prompt this question, that which of the two, in that scenario we use this pratipadika katara. When we use this pronoun, no, kim. So this is a question pronoun. Kasmin, wherein, kasmat, from where, kasya, of who. So whenever we ask any questions, we use this kim, this question pronoun. So think of it like that only, that whenever we have any two things, any two situations, any two conditions, and when we want to ask this question, that which between the two, which of the two. So in that case, we use this pronoun katara. And since our main noun griyaha, this as we saw here is in first case, and the gender is neuter gender. So katara, this pronoun, this pratipadika also, in first case, neuter gender, it changes into this katarat. Okay, so this is again a bit different from the usual, that why this additional ta is coming. So this is a bit unusual form, but here you can just memorize it. Okay. And together with this gariyaha, katarat gariyaha, the simple thing is, which of the two gariyaha is better? So this is the entire statement. Etad na vidmaha. This fact we don't know. That is what Arjuna is saying. Now let us move forward. And here just an additional detail that is present in the shloka. That is why I am including kesham. That which of the two is better for who? Kesham, for who? And that is naha. Okay. Naha means us. That is for us, for our sake. That which of the two is better for our sake, in that sense. So the pratipadika here for this naha, this is this asmat pronoun. This again is a first person pronoun. Whatever is concerned with the first person, uttama purush, we use this pronoun asmat. So in sixth case, plural, this asmat, this changes into naha. But there is another very common form that happens in this sixth case plural. That is this asmakam. So both this asmakam and naha, both of these are interchangeable. It's like just in sixth case plural, you have these two forms, asmakam and naha. So that is what is happening. You can raise a question that why you are using sixth case. Because for sixth case, Shashti Vibhakti, we have seen the use is of, right? Ramasya, of Ram. Or even if I am using this asmakam, so it should mean of us. That's something that is of us in that possessive sense. But here you are using for us. And for in this provision we generally use the fourth case, right? So this might be the doubt you have, but again, if you would have taken a notice of this point, this sixth case is oftentimes used for this situation. So instead of using this fourth vibhakti, we have so many times we use this sixth case also. Okay, so whenever you have this sense that something is done for our sake, so whenever you have this sense, this feeling, so in that case, you can use this sixth case. That is what is happening here also. So this is a very common use. This is not something out of blue. This is very commonly used. Okay. So that is what is happening. That katrat nah gariyaha. That for us or for our sake, which of the two is better? This we don't know. And now we are of course going to see the two scenarios, two choices, that which of the two is better. But what are those two choices? So now we are going to take a look at that. And that is why I am prompting this question, Prathamaha Vikalpaha. Vikalpa means option. Vikalpa means choice. So that is why I am asking this question that, okay, what is the first scenario? What is the first choice? And this is what we get as a statement, Yat va jayema. Where the keyword is this, jayema. So this jayema, this is coming from the dhatu, ji dhatu. Ji dhatu means to win or to conquer. In that sense, in our context of the shloka, to conquer. This is a more appropriate use of this dhatu. And this particular dhatu in first person again. Arjuna is talking about himself, including all the Pandavas. So first person, that is Uttama Purush, plural Bahuvachan, and Vidhiling Lakar, that is the potential mood. So Vidhiling Lakar potential mood, why we use? When we want to convey the sense of should be done or must be done, in that sense. So in these three conditions, this ji dhatu changes into jayema. Okay, simply meaning we should conquer. Simple as that. We should conquer, in that sense. So whenever you are using this Vidhiling Lakar with this would, so this would is essentially showing the potentiality, that this is potential, this might happen in the future. So to show that, we use this would, that we would conquer, in that sense. But this potential mood Vidhiling Lakar is also used to show that this action, this thing must be done. It should be done. To show that urgency, that importance of this action, we use this vidling lakar also. That is what is happening here. We should conquer. We must conquer in that sense. And now coming to this point, yatva. And again in the shloka, if you will see yatva and then there is yadiva. So this yatva, yadiva, this is like a combination, similar to like either or. So if either this or else that. So this va, this indeclinable away, this essentially means this only, or. And again in the combination of this way, yatva, yadiva, it is just that if either we should conquer or else something else. So in that situation. So these are just a combination pairs like yatha, tatha, yada, tada. So in that way only. So yatva jayem, if either we should conquer and them. This I have written in a smaller font because again this is not given in the shloka, but this is implied that if either we should conquer who? If Arjuna is talking about himself, the Pandavas, so of course he is talking about conquering the Kauravas. So if either we should conquer them, so to show that them, you can imagine this tan, right? That yatva tan jayem, that if either we should conquer them. So it is just like implied. So that is why I have written in the smaller font. So anyways, this is the Prathama Vikalpa. This is the first choice that Arjuna is talking about. What is the second choice? Or rather, what is the second scenario? So that is nah jayeyuhu. So the keyword here is jayeyuhu. And this jayeyuhu is also coming from the very same dhatu, ji dhatu only, to conquer. And all the conditions are also same. The only difference is third person. Because here jayema, Arjuna, he was talking about himself and Pandavas. So he wanted to say we should conquer. But now he is talking about the Kauravas, the third person. So that is why third person, of course, plural and same potential mood with ling lakar to show this should. But now it is they should conquer. So just same root, but this is the only difference. Jayema, we should conquer. Jayeyuhu, they should conquer. And this naha means us. That they should conquer us in that sense. But this naha here is not the naha that we just saw before. This is again coming from the same pronoun only. Asmat pronoun, asmat pratipadika only. But here this naha is in second case. Second case plural, dvitiya vibhakti plural. Because they should conquer us. So us, this becomes the object. Just like I was saying, we should conquer them. That is why I use tan, which was coming from the pronoun tad. Tad in second case plural changes into tan, right? When we want to say them. But since here we are talking about us, so it is the asmat pronoun, asmat pratipadika, but same, second case plural. So generally you will see this also written asman. So this is just another word for this second case plural of asmat. Okay, so this naha, as you can see, this actually repeats. This actually repeats not just for second and sixth, it also repeats for the fourth. So if you check the entire table, vibhakti table of this asmat pratipadika, you will see, so for the plural part, the second, fourth and sixth vibhakti, they have some word form, but they also have this naha. So it just repeats. And by context only you can identify what actually vibhakti is being used. This is very easy to identify. They should conquer us. So we become the object. That is why dvitiya vibhakti second case. And yadiva, so again as I mentioned, it is like a just opposite pair of this. Yatva, yadiva. Yatva, if either this or else yadiva or else this. So in that sense. But now let us check the anvay along with the translation, so it will make complete sense of the entire shloka. So continuing from the previous shloka, continuing from the sentiments and emotions from the previous shloka, Arjuna continues that yan hatva na jiji vishamaha. That after killing whom, after killing all whom, na jiji vishamaha, we don't even desire to live, we won't even want to live. Te eva dhartarashtraha, those very Kaurava people, that is his teachers and his blood relatives, those very Kaurava peoples, pramukhe avastitaha, are firmly established, pramukhe, at the very front of the army, at the forefront of the army. That all those people who I don't want to kill, whom I don't want to fight, they are leading the war, they are at the very front of the army. And so there are only two possible outcomes that Arjuna is reflecting now, that yat vajayim, that if either we should conquer them, that if either we should kill them, we should kill the Kauravas and we should conquer the Kauravas, yadiva, or else nah jayeyuhu, or else they should conquer us, that we get killed. So these are the only two outcomes, that either the Pandavas, they kill Kauravas and they win, or the Kauravas, they kill the Pandavas and they win. And then he further says that Katrat nah gariyaha, that Katrat, which of the two is gariyaha, is better, nah, that is for us. that out of these two scenarios, which of the two is better for us? Etat na vidmaha. This we do not know. And with this statement, you can clearly see again, he's just reflecting his own delusion that whether he should fight the war or he should just surrender and get killed, get beaten. So he's still in that delusion. Now, very cleverly, what Arjuna did is he is trying to reinforce his delusion as a general delusion of his entire army. That is why he's using that which of this is better, this we don't know. So he's like trying to justify his own delusion as a common concern of his entire army of all the Pandavas. So that is what he's trying to do. That this is not just my concern. This is not just my delusion, Krishna. This is delusion of everyone. So he's just trying to justify his own mental state. So that is what he's doing. That is the entire meaning of the shloka. Again, all the shlokas I have mentioned before also, they carry a lot of weightage also. So as I've mentioned before also, if you can read along a commentary on these shlokas, so they will give you a better understanding of the implied meaning of the shlokas, the symbolic meanings of the shlokas. Very important, very interesting also. But anyways, that was the entire video. A bit tricky, as I said, a bit full of all this grammar and everything. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everything was clear. Do download that PDF file, go through it. The Sandhi section, very important, lot of Sandhis to practice, and also the word by word breakdown. I will meet you in the next video with the next shloka. Until then, stay awesome, stay happy. Vayam punah milamaha. Dhanyavad.